I'm Winston Nugent from the Public Affairs Division, and I'm sitting right here with both Senator Samuel Sanes, Vice President of the 30th Legislature, and of course Senator Craig Bossinger, a member of that majority. I'm going to start with, of course, you, Senator Bossinger, since you have an upcoming hearing in the legislature. Senator Bossinger, your committee has jurisdiction over energy and, of course, environmental issues impacting the Virgin Islands. Your upcoming meeting focuses on energy. Now, in the past, you have discussed a plan to mitigate the territory's energy crisis. As the sponsor of Bill number 30004, which is an act amending the Virgin Islands Code, establishing a feed-in tariff act. Tell me, Senator, discuss this benefit of that act and the legislation to the territory as it pertains to our energy crisis.
Thank you, Winston. This bill, the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection will consider this Friday, is a major step forward in allowing all Virgin Islanders to become a part of the energy revolution, or also known as the renewable energy revolution. Many people want to get solar panels or wind turbines but cannot afford it. There are loans available at banks, but some people don't want to take those loans out. But once we pass the Feed-in Tariff Act, it will be possible for the rent-a-roof companies to come to the Virgin Islands, and you can rent your yard or roof space to a company for 20 years, and they will pay you somewhere between $50 and $150 a month for the use of your space. So you're solar, but you don't have to do anything. You just get a check. And they'll come to your house or yard and install the windmill or the solar panel, and then they will enter into an agreement with the Water and Power Authority for 20 years as well. You don't have to deal with it. They just take care of it. And so you have approximately $100 a month to put toward your WAPA bill. Of course, the feed-in tariff also allows you to buy that directly or to get bank loans. So you can be your own investor. And in fact, instead of only earning $80 or $100, you might be able to save yourself $150 by being your own power supplier. All of this needs to be supported by legislation, and it's done in Germany, California, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and even Michigan. Our feed-in tariff bill ties into Michigan's most recent bill that was made based on California's legislation. So this is a rapidly evolving area, and the Virgin Islands will be at the forefront if we pass this legislation.
Excuse me, Senator, are you saying that both the territory in general and individual will benefit from this legislation?
Yes, it really will make a big difference for people who just are not able to afford that WAPA bill because it's just slightly beyond their reach. This will allow everybody to afford their WAPA bill. And if you've got the ability to borrow from the bank, you could literally borrow enough to make your WAPA bill go to zero with only a 5-year payback time, max. We've had hearings on this subject, and from all sides, we get a clear indication that the payback time is now 2 to 4 years on solar energy, because the WAPA rate is so high that when you buy electrical energy from a solar panel, which comes in at about 12 cents a kilowatt hour, you can see how quickly that pays back because it avoids having to pay WAPA 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So the answer is yes. It's right there for us to take that step. And we'll hear from the testifiers on Friday from WAPA and from the Energy Office and from elsewhere to see whether this is something that we want to go and see if we have to amend it at all in order to make it suit the territory's needs.
Are you aware that there's a confusion over the difference between the FIT and the net metering?
Yes. Let me explain that. Many people know that right now we have net metering available. And net metering basically means that you can use WAPA as your battery. There are over 100 people in the territory right now who have net metering. Last I heard from Mr. Hodge, it was about 106. And more are going for it every day. By now, it's probably up to 150 because I haven't checked with him in many months. What is net metering? Net metering means that when you use current, your meter spins forward, and when you make current and push it back into WAPA's grid, it spins backwards. So if you use 1,000 kilowatt hours in a month and you produce 1,000 kilowatt hours in the month, your bill will be net zero. So if you get enough solar panel, you will not have any WAPA bill at all. And there are many people who are doing this right now. I mean, at least 100. It's not fair to WAPA entirely, because WAPA now has to act as your battery, but at the end of the year they make no money off of you. If you invest $20,000 to $25,000 and you have an average size home, you will have no bill at the end of the year. You will be a net zero customer. If everyone did this, WAPA would have trouble. So what we propose is feed-in tariff, because it gives a slightly different rate. You buy from WAPA at, say, 45 cents, and you sell to WAPA at 35 cents. So basically, now WAPA can make a little bit of money off of being your battery. And the reason this is good is because it's sustainable, meaning if everybody went for it, it would still work, and it would strengthen the Water and Power Authority instead of hurting it. So I anticipate that WAPA will be for this bill, at least in that aspect. They may complain about certain aspects of it, and we'll listen to them and try and adjust the bill through amendments. But we're pretty sure the WAPA is more in favor of net metering. It also, more in favor of feed-in tariff than net metering. And it also allows a larger scale. Small homes might only want to go with net metering because they only have 1,000 watts or 2,000 watts of power on their roof. But some people keep asking us, they say, I have a huge roof and I want to have feed-in tariff and I want to make a profit center, meaning I want to buy so many panels that I'm able to actually get a check from WAPA. Under feed-in tariff, you can get a check from WAPA because all you have to do is create more electricity than you use. In fact, we have a specialized version of feed-in tariff that Senator Capehart is going to bring that is going to allow a special dispensation for the Juan F. Louis Hospital to retire its huge WAPA debt by using feed-in tariff. So this is going to be something that we hope will really put the territory in a comfortable, renewable energy place in the world view.
Well, thank you, Senator. I'll come back to you, but let me go to, of course, the Vice President of the Legislature, Senator Sanez. Senator Sanez, as the sponsor of Bill number 30041, which is an act to authorize the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, and that is to establish a used oil collection certification program. Please explain that to me.
But before I explain my bill, I'd like to mention something that Senator Bossinger, perhaps he's going to mention it later on.
Absolutely.
The FIT, the feed-in tariff, is also a stimulus to our economy. Because remember, when people have money saved, when they are getting possibly that check back from WAPA, they're going to spend it. It's going to stimulate the economy. So that's one of the side benefits that this bill has, that we'll have in our economy. So it's something really to consider.
Well, if you go there, then let me put in my question that I wanted to ask you. Is this a feed-in tariff act depends on WAPA reestablishing itself in terms of the LEAC, in terms of using oil as its energy source?
It can possibly do it in the near future. You know, one of the things that we need to consider is the fact that every year new technology comes up. 10, 15, 20 years ago, the concept of solar energy was still a novel concept. It was a novel concept that people were perhaps exploring and experimenting. Now you see it all over. You see it in third world countries. You see it being developed for entire countries. So, you know, this is something that we have to keep up with. We need to keep up with what's going on in terms of technology. And I do see that at one point or the other, we're going to reach a point in which we are going to use alternative energy throughout the territory.
So at what point will this bill take effect? Now? No? I mean, can it take effect now, Senator?
Yes, it's an immediate effect, and what will happen is that WAPA will continue to use diesel fuel or liquid propane, which they're switching to now for the foreseeable future. But every year, instead of it being 300 million, it'll go to 200 million, then 150 million, and then 50 million, because every solar panel you put on the roof lowers the millions of dollars we spend on fuel. And there will become a time when, in the not too distant future, 5 to 7 years, when WAPA could literally be burning under $50 million a year in fuel. Think about it. What is fuel? The LEAC is nothing more than the cost of fuel divided up and shared among all the ratepayers. So if we got the WAPA bill down to $50 million a year, that would mean your LEAC would be 1/6 of what it is today. 1/6. And this isn't hocus pocus numbers. This is real stuff. It's just like if you buy 50 gallons of gas in your car tank and you burn it all up in a week, you paid 50 gallons. You get a more efficient car that only takes 25 gallons. $25 worth of fuel per week, you've saved $25. Same thing applies here. We're standing on the verge, as Senator Sanis says, the technology is racing forward, and we have to be willing to see ourselves in that future and not be left behind.
Sounds good to me, Senator. Back to you, Senator Sanes. Regarding your used oil collection certification program, actually, what is that?
Okay, I'm really looking forward to presenting this bill on Friday. This will give the ability for individuals or entities really to actually go and collect used oil. For instance, go to restaurants and collect used cooking oil to be used for energy purposes. A few years ago, we had a gentleman that came up to me, and he was stopped, and rightly so, because he didn't have the permit and he didn't have the necessary paperwork to collect. But he was collecting enough vegetable oil from restaurants to run his own generator efficiently. He was also collecting to run his own car. So this is something that we hope to stimulate here. It's all about energy, and it's also all about recycling. Because in the past few weeks, remember that we had an issue with flooding. Now, follow my logic. One of the reasons why we're having an issue with flooding in our streets, especially in our town areas, is because there is a large portion of used oil that is being drained into our pipes, which clogs up our pipes.
Got you.
So the fact is that this is going to help us not only to recycle our used oil, but also to help the environment.
I see. Is your bill speaking of an established center where the individuals who collect these used oils, will they have a place to go? And of course,
for now, what they're going to do is they're going to start collecting them for their own usage. However, with the rules and regulations that hopefully DPNR is going to establish, we perhaps will see a center that, who knows, maybe in the future, DPNR can possibly make a profit in terms of selling this used oil. So it's open for possibilities. I mean, this could be here in the Virgin Islands, maybe the establishment of a new industry, of a new business.
I see. So is this certification is going to be given to an individual authorizing him or her to collect used oil?
Yes, to collect it, to properly collect it,
Properly
to ensure
collect it.
that they have the containers, to ensure they have the mechanism to collect the oil, and to ensure that none of that oil is spilled into our environment.
I see. Is there a fee attached to the certification?
That's going to be discussed, hopefully on Friday.
Winston, I'd like to make a comment on Senator Sanis's bill. What he's doing is he's setting the stage for success. If you just go barreling into something without setting up a regulatory framework, you can have unintended bad consequences, and then the new technology can get a bad name. But by being prepared in advance for this recycling of oil and use for energy production, he's setting the stage to avoid the pitfalls and reap the benefits.
Senator, is your bill will, of course, authorize DPNR to establish some kind of marketing or awareness program so the community or individual can aware that this program will be in effect?
Yeah, and that's part of a later stage. For now, we just establishing the basic rules and regulations. We have to start off small. And one of my former, how can I say, mentors always used to tell me, there's no such thing as a perfect bill. That is the reason why we're going to vet it in the appropriate committee. We're going to listen to the opinions, the suggestions, and we're going to flesh it out. But I truly believe that this is a start of something great.
I see, Senator. So, of course, you said planning on natural resources.
Yes.
any other entity will be invited to this hearing?
Well, for
To
now,
testify rather on your bill?
yeah, for now it will be them. But then later on, once we got the rules and regulations, of course we have to bring in licensing and consumer, because at one point or the other, they're going to have a licensing fee. They're going to be a special fee for license so that they can go and collect the used oil. So we're going to have different entities, and like I said before, this is going to will stimulate the economy, because we have the possibility of a new industry being developed.
Okay, Senator Bassinger, back to you. Of course, during this upcoming meeting that you plan to have, I know that you're going to have the Virgin Islands Department of Planning and Natural Resources, the Virgin Islands Energy Office, and of course, these are the enforcement and implementation of Act number 7075. There are a few concerns here. Can you explain to me what they are?
Yes, Winston, we've had great success from Act 7075, which we passed about 4 years ago, that has created a foundation for people to get rebates and to do a lot of things to go solar. But the area has evolved a great deal, and there have been some pitfalls where things have not been done according to law. We clearly spoke as a legislature when we passed 7075 in the 28th legislature, and we have heard reports, which are numerous, that at times the Water and Power Authority has not been fully complying with 7075. For example, it says that the Water and Power Authority cannot require additional expenses on the part of the person who's going with net metering above and beyond the underwriter laboratory certification or the IEEE certification, meaning they cannot be arbitrary and say, we want you, for instance, to run the lines from your inverter up to the road. And we have heard reports that this has been happening. So what we do is, one of our functions is not just to pass the laws, but we have oversight of how those laws are being enforced. We may have to adjust our legislation and even establish penalties if we find that the laws are not being supported. And in this case, we want to make sure that WAPA understands that we will not tolerate subversion of Act 7075. If we have a law, they have to follow it. And it's for the good of the people. It brings wonderful benefits, such as a no-cost upfront solar hot water heater is one of the benefits that came through it. And hundreds of people, approximately 800 people, have gotten a solar hot water heater and now have no expense every month for heating their water. And we intend for all of the benefits of 7075 to come to fruition. And to do that, we're going to have a back and forth where WAPA tells us what difficulties they may be having enforcing 7075 and why they're behaving the way they are. And frankly, people will be able to complain if they feel that they've been unfairly treated by the Water and Power Authority. But we're going to hear from both sides. I don't take this bit about where people say that they're being treated unfairly. If they come and under oath, they testify that they have had problems, then we know it's real and we deal with it legislatively. And that's why we're having a hearing.
You see that way, Senator? You see the confusion in
Yeah,
the
I see the
context of
confusion, and
necessary to be explained by WAPA.
Yeah, and I think I think Friday is going to be the beginning. It's not going to be just one committee session. What we're trying to do is that we're trying to be as transparent as possible. And Senator Bassinger has been really good in terms of laying down all the cards on the table. The fact is that he's going to give them the ability and the opportunity to come and present their case. We're going to have the ability, senators, to ask questions. And not only that, throughout the committee hearing, one of the good things about being in this committee is that we often get feedback from the public. Our phone, believe it or not, I mean, we get numerous texts from
while you're on the
while
floor.
we're on the floor. Right. We get numerous texts from individuals that are actually listening in, debating, asking questions. So this is a wonderful opportunity. It's not just the senators asking questions. Some of our questions will come from the public.
I see. Senator Bassinger, when will you having this hearing? It will be on?
It will be on Friday. September 13th, this week, Friday, September 13th. And the public is invited to come down to the well and be there and watch the proceedings. And they can text right from the well to Senator Sanis if
9
they
o'clock.
want.
9 o'clock.
9 a.m.
Yes.
Thank you. 9 a.m. Friday, September 13th.
In
and
the Fitz-E. Legislative Conference Room,
Yeah.
Frederickstead.
that is correct. In Frederickstead. We had the last meeting in St. Thomas in June, and we're having a meeting here in Give St. Croix a try, so that we will be hearing energy Friday of September 13th.
So I would say, therefore, then I would say that Friday will be the energy day.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, senators, you realize that energy is very important. It has been a needle in our back for years, and of course, these two pieces of legislation here, and of course, the discussion that you're going to have regarding Act number 7075 will be important.
Right. Winston, allow me to say that this legislature is extremely responsive to the people's anguish over electricity. And if they support their senators in making changes, then those changes can occur. We have no less than 6 different pieces of energy legislation in the pipeline. But remember, there are always opponents and proponents of every piece. If you like what we're doing, we figured out the answer for you. But if you don't come out and let us know and contact your senators and give them input, it's possible that we'll just sort of keep it on the back burner for a while. And it would really be a good idea, I think, if we brought that electricity cost down below 40 cents, headed toward 20 cents, because then St. Croix's economy and all of the Virgin Islands economy would improve. Particularly St. Croix, the economy is really imploding. And if we can get that electricity cost headed down, that will put that money into the economy that Senator Sanis is talking about. Once it starts to circulate, people have jingle in their pocket, they go buy other goods and services, and pretty soon everybody's working. But when all your money goes to the WAPA bill, and then the WAPA money goes up the flue, $300 million a year, we don't have any money. It's that simple. We might as well be burning dollar bills, $100 bills. As a matter of fact, I did a calculation, Winston. Right now, at the rate that we're paying right now, it's as if WAPA takes a stack of 400 $100 bills and blows it up the flue, up the stack every day. 400 $1, I'm sorry, 4,000. I'm wrong about my calculation. It was 4,000 $100 bills every single day. We can't afford. No one could.
Senator, that's an excellent, I would say, adjective you use right there, or advertisal clause. Let me put it that way. Do you have any last-minute statement, Senator?
Well, what I would like to do is at this time invite, of course, like Senator Boston just stated, invite the public to participate. They can either show up physically or call us with their questions and concerns and their statements. And I'm really looking forward to this Friday.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. And, of course, the public can visit our www.virginislandsenate.org for any additional information. As I said before, I am Winston Nugent for Legit Television.